Hello, 8th grade. This is Mrs. Politsky, and I have your notes for Chapter 8, Lesson 2, Government and the People. So, we're going to talk about the federal government, and the Constitution defines the roles of the legislative branch, executive branch, and judicial branch. So, Articles 1 through 3 of the Constitution are spread out over these different branches. So, Article 1 talks about the legislative branch, which is headed up by the Congress, which would be the House of Representatives and the Senate. And it makes the laws for our nation. It sets taxes and approves government spending, creates government programs, and it can also declare war. Article 2 defines the executive branch, headed by the president, composed of the vice president and the cabinet of the government departments. And its duty is to carry out the laws that are passed by Congress. The commander-in-chief of the military is our president, and the president gets to deal with foreign policy and negotiate treaties. The third article of the Constitution defines the role of the judicial branch, headed by the Supreme Court, but also made up of other lower federal courts and other courts that kind of feed into the federal system. It has the power of judicial review, which is the final authority to review acts of Congress or things that the president has done to determine whether or not they are in violation of the Constitution. So they are interpreting the Constitution. So House of Representatives is the larger of the two houses of Congress, with 435 members based on population of each state. Every 10 years, to determine the population, we do a census, and that will determine how many representatives each state will get. The minimum amount you can have is 1. There are also 6 non-voting delegates to the House. Members are elected to a 2-year term, and they're up for election every 2 years. There are no limits on the number of terms that a representative can serve. So if they would like to keep running and people keep voting for them, they can serve for a very long period of time. The Senate has fewer members, only 100 senators, 2 from each state. That is the maximum and the minimum. Senators are elected for a term of 6 years, and every 2 years there are elections for the Senate, but only 1/3 of those senators are up for election at any given time. As with members of the House, there are no term limits for our senators, so if they can keep getting elected, they can keep serving. According to Article 1, in order for a bill to become a law, most of the members of both houses must agree on a bill. After that, the bill goes to the president, and if the president signs it, then the bill will become a law. Under Article 2, the president has the power to propose laws to Congress. They may not necessarily be writing the laws, but they can suggest an idea, and they can get members of Congress to write up the legislation, and that's how the process begins. They can direct foreign policy, they can name ambassadors, they can negotiate treaties, they can act as commander-in-chief of the military as well. Article 3 establishes the judicial branch, which consists of the Supreme Court, courts of appeal, the federal district courts. The Supreme Court is the top court in the U.S. legal system, and its duty is to interpret the laws and decide if an issue is constitutional or not. The Constitution created just one court, the Supreme Court. Congress has created the rest of the federal courts. And you can kind of see our current makeup of our U.S. Supreme Court. Judicial review. This is a power that the courts have. It allows the Supreme Court to look at actions of the other two branches and determine whether or not those actions follow the rules of the Constitution. The justices are chosen by the president, and they have to be approved by the Senate, and a justice can serve for life. So, Articles 4 through 7 of the Constitution. Article 4 defines the relations between states and the nation. Article 5 contains our amendments. Article 6 talks about public debt. The supremacy of law, which basically means that the Constitution is the highest law of the land. And it also talks about the need for oaths of office. And finally, Article 7, the last of our articles here, defines ratification of the Constitution, the rules that have to be abided by to make the Constitution the law of the land. So, what it means to be a citizen. Americans enjoy many rights defined in the Constitution. Those rights include the freedoms of speech, press, religion, also your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. 3 categories of rights for U.S. citizen. There is the right to be protected from unfair government actions, the right to be treated equally under the law, and the right to enjoy basic freedoms. Those are the 3 categories of rights for U.S. citizens. So, people also have the right to due process in legal proceedings and equal protection under the law. So, due process means that the government cannot take action against a person without following certain rules. So, it could be like when a police officer might be writing up parking tickets, there's a certain procedure they must follow. And when that procedure isn't followed, that ticket is invalidated, meaning that it isn't really a ticket. To ensure that the government must follow a set of laws in dealing with people, and those procedures are the same for all people. That is really your equal protection. Equal protection is a right guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. It's kind of the second part of that. If you remember, 14th Amendment's one of the Civil War amendments. It talked about granting citizenship to our former slaves, but it also talks about the equal protection and due process of law at the state level. So equal protection means that the law must treat people in the same way, no matter what their race, religion, or political groups are. So our rights and freedoms also have some limits. We cannot exercise our rights or freedoms if it hurts others or takes away their rights or freedoms. A citizen is a person who owes their loyalty to a country and receives its protection. There are several ways to become an American citizen. One way is to be born here on American soil, but another way is to have a parent who is a citizen. People born in other countries may become citizens through the process called naturalization, which basically means that they have to learn the English language. They also have to learn American history and our American government. So it takes a little time. And matter of fact, currently it takes about 10 years to become a U.S. citizen. So, duties and responsibilities of citizens. So, one of our duties is to follow the laws. And what would happen if we didn't do that? Well, tax money would be spent to catch and try you, and if too many people disobeyed, there would be no order. When you talk about other duties, sitting on a jury, there wouldn't be a jury, and this would would affect criminal defendants and their constitutional rights. The duty to pay taxes. There wouldn't be enough money to protect us or to pay for the programs that serve everyone. Responsibilities. One of them is to vote. If people don't vote, then the leaders are chosen by a small group of voters, and this might not reflect everybody's preference. We also have a responsibility to respect the rights of others. Others might not respect your rights if we don't do this. And finally, to educate yourself on the government. You will not know how to make good decisions otherwise. So, thank you very much.